Hey guys, Jess with Peek Blue Wreaths. So today we're going to be working on an orange, blue, and burlap mesh football wreath. So we're using a navy blue and white check, a plain burlap, an orange with those reflective leaves, and then a navy blue 1.5 inch. So I'm showing you these different mesh that we're choosing to use. Each of them are cut at 30 inches. So they're 10.5 inch wide, 30 inch long. We're going to be attaching them to our 14 inch wreath frame. I have 18 ties tied onto there for us to put our mesh and our ribbon into. So I'm just showing you that. I used brown pipe cleaners because they match the football theme. They won't really show in the front at all, but when the customer turns the wreath around, they'll be able to see it on the back, and we want to make sure that we look as professional as possible with our handmade items. So what I did is I took the mesh and I always keep my thumb stationary. I ruffle it up the middle, and then I include one piece of mesh into each tie. Then once you put one in, you just switch to the next one and just keep going all the way along. This burlap mesh is actually cut to 20 inches long. It's mesh that I had cut for a different project, but I wanted to incorporate it into this wreath to kind of lighten it up and give it more of a natural feel, because I do have the natural raffia included in the bow that I made for this wreath. So we were putting it in just like we did with the navy one. The length is a little bit different, but it still turns out beautifully. So I'm just going to go all the way around, adding the different pieces of mesh in. We did the navy, the burlap mesh, and then we're going to do the gorgeous like goldenrod color. I roll it a couple times, and then I just ruffle it up the middle, trying to keep it as even as possible and keeping the portion that I put into that tie nice and centered. I always flip it down so that the unfinished edge is facing down to try to minimize a fraying, but we do the same thing all the way around. All right, now that we finished up that bottom level, I'm going to be adding the golden color to the entire top level. I had extra of this color, and I know it'll look really pretty with this wreath. Also, I'm doing the same thing with the 10.5 inch cut to 30 inch lengths. I'm just ruffling it up the middle, making it look like that little butterfly or the bow tie, adding them to the 6 ties on the top level. Another reason that I use this golden color is because the ribbons that I chose, we had the orange with the leaves, the burlap color, a straight navy blue, and then a navy blue with the white checks. Since I did have 2 blue ribbons that I was using in this wreath, I did want to use extra orange mesh to kind of balance it out. One thing about wreaths is you don't want them to look too dark, especially if it's like a fall wreath. I was thinking that I wanted orange because, the leaves and the orange colors, even though this team is orange and navy blue, I didn't want it to look too dark on the customer's door and not give off the same fall vibes as the ribbon choices that I picked. So I'm just going around, adding all of the orange mesh into this wreath, the same way I did on the bottom, but putting it on the top level. All right, now that we've added all of our mesh in, we are going to be adding in our ribbon. So I've cut all these ribbons to 13 inches long. These 2 that I'm using here are 2.5 inch. The second set that I'm going to be using, the golden orange with the reflective leaves, that's 2.5 inches. The navy blue solid is 1.5 inch. You can use, it really doesn't matter what width of ribbons that you use. I do like to use 2.5 inch ones the most I can because it does cover more of the wreath and give more of an impactful look. But as long as you put them in, I cut them to 13 inches like I said. I put 2 into each tie, and if I'm not going to add any more embellishments in, I twist the tie a couple of times and then I tuck it underneath. So that's the same thing that I'm doing with these other 2 here. I'm just taking them, making sure that I'm folding it in the middle, adding it into the tie, and then twisting it a couple times, the twist tie a couple times, and tucking it underneath in the wreath. So I'm going to do the same thing all the way around until I have all the ribbon in my wreath. I normally leave one piece of ribbon out of one of the bundles because that's where I add my bow. And when I do include a large statement bow, you wouldn't be able to see the 2 pieces of ribbon that are underneath that bow anyways. And That's just the way that looks best for my wreaths. So like I said before, just go all the way around the top and the bottom, adding 2 pieces of ribbon, fanning them out so that the customer can see both designs. And the next step, we're going to be adding some of our embellishments, our bow, and just stay tuned for the next steps. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the next steps in this beautiful wreath process and other wreath making tips. Thanks so much. Enjoy.